everyone, my colleagues Olga Жеребкина and Arkady Sedmonov and me, Shamova Ksenia, are going to present you the video about John Eikenberry book Liberal Leviathan. The author is a theorist of international relations and United States foreign policy. Also, he is a professor in Princeton University of Politics and International Affairs. Eikenberry was ranked 10th in scholars who wrote the best book in the field of international relations in the past 20 years. Eikenberry wrote his book Liberal Leviathan in 2011. So we have to take into account that it passed almost 10 years since the book was written, and the world political situation have been changing during this time. My colleagues Olga Жеребкina and Arkady Sedmonov are going to discuss if it's rather possible or not to establish liberal Leviathan in contemporary political situation, and if it could serve to stabilize the international system. And in the end, I will make an overall conclusion.
Talking about the possibility of establishment of liberal Leviathan in contemporary world, we need to first identify what it is and how the United States became one in the past few decades. As we all know, the collapse of Soviet Union in 1991 did not lead to the emergence of a multipolar world. Instead, it led to creation of a very unique unipolar order, with the United States being in the center of it. As stated in chapter 4 of unipolarity and its consequences, unipolarity can be understood not just as one state possessing concentration of material capabilities, but a set of political and institutional characteristics that make the dominant state a hub around which others operate. So, what allowed this order to emerge? Eikenberry actually stated that it was American political formation together with its power capabilities that allowed this unique order to emerge. In spite of realist theories claiming that in unipolar distribution of power, weaker states would naturally resist the predominant one, counter-argument to the United States was never generated because many states actually were seeking to cooperate with it. And another feature that played an important role is the specific feature of a global system that demands less for balancing. To put in simple words, democracies are less likely to oppose democracies. The other factor is nuclear weapon possession, which basically excludes any possibility of the war, which puts another level of challenge of overthrowing the unipolar order. In addition, Eikenberry highlights the geographic location of the United States, which, as we all know, is isolated from the rest of the world, which allows it to seem less threatening to the entire world. But more importantly, the United States has created the most far-reaching pole, building it around, and I quote, multilateral alliances, strategic restraint, cooperative security, and open and institutionalized rule-based relations. Ultimately, after the collapse of Soviet Union, the United States was able to become a liberal hegemon because it emerged quietly without any alternative response. It seems like Eikenberry jokingly called his book a Hobbesian term Leviathan, while developing a discussion about the unipolar world order in Lockean understanding of social contract. By doing so, the author highlights that the order was built around consensus and liberal institutions that allowed both predominant and secondary countries to flourish. However, with the rise of China and other great powers and fluctuations of American foreign policies over time, we currently live in a multipolar world. The incumbent president of the United States, Donald Trump's foreign policy is very distinct from the idea of liberal Leviathan. It mainly includes focus on domestic security and military expansion. Some would argue that by moving away from global liberal institutions to military dominance as the main source of power, Donald Trump is directing his country to a huge failure, because now he's rejecting the system that once allowed the United States to become a hegemon, this global leader in this unique unipolar system. However, arguably, if the United States returned to its liberal institution and the consensus of world order, it would allow them to reestablish their place at the global arena as a liberal hegemon. By doing so, it would not only secure its future, but also stabilize current world order by moving its focus from competition to actually mutual beneficial relations. I believe that with the majority of great powers being democracies, the United States has a great chance of succeeding.
From the other point of view, establishing Ikenberry's world order these days seems to be really challenging. Let's move approximately 70 years back and look on this situation from the position of states which are not that significant as the US and the USSR. Well, being in the condition of the Cold War, those states which didn't want to join socialist camp could find shelter and protection joining the United States and afterwards being dependent on them. Those countries didn't have alternative opportunity of running foreign affairs. Thereby, the Cold War created conditions where the US could impose their own rules and at the same time provide protection. I have mentioned all the data in order to make a contrast with contemporary status quo. Comparing these periods of time, one can state that for the time being, world is multipolar. Revisionist powers have occurred in the face of China and India in Asia. These are states with an accelerating economy, which have a significant potential. Also Germany and France in Europe, being one of the most influential participants in the economy and trade in their region. Probably Russia, located on the distant territory of Mackindor's heartland. Although its geoeconomic activity not that big, it is able to project its military power widely in the regions of Eastern Europe and the Middle East. Even taking into consideration the United States' ability to perform globally using any means of geopolitics, and still from the 19th, revisionist states have developed that much, which made their regional power even stronger than the United States ones. Perhaps states have lost the opportunity after they quit Ikenberry's theory and started to develop military capabilities and to invest money in the defense of their country. Now let's move to the Westphalian system. Since the middle of 17th century, states, especially Western ones, have run their foreign affairs according to this order. It has been already 4 centuries when countries were stick to such things as a balance of power, states recognition, and respect or equal treatment. But in the decades since the end of the Cold War, under conditions of unipolarity and eroded norms of state sovereignty, this Westphalian system has been turned on its head, what makes Ikenberry theory hard to implement. As it is quite problematic to challenge old system, which is essential and fundamental for almost every region in the world.
To conclude, in the 1990s, the United States was able to create a unique unipolar system, being at the center of it as liberal hegemon. It can be characterized by global alliances, cooperation, non-discrimination, institutionalized and open order based on consensus, rules and norms. More importantly, we have discussed the complex question and in our opinion, there is no final answer to it. My colleagues Olga and Arkasha have discussed and broadly explained both views concerning the question about the possibility of liberal Leviathan establishment in contemporary world. It may be possible because many of the great powers are democracies, and if the United States returns to the system that it created after the end of the Soviet Union, it may still gain its place back. But there was a few claims that it cannot be done because of other important political actors which can compete with the United States, and because of America's reorientation to military improvement of the state.